Hello BookTube, this is my July reading plan. My main goal for July is to finish the last 15 volumes of Naruto by Masashi Kishimoto. Naruto is one of the most popular manga ever. It's the story of a young man named Uzumaki Naruto, who, on the day of his birth, a gigantic nine-tailed demon fox attacked his home village of Konoha, the Hidden Leaf. The leader of the village, the Hokage, um, sealed the demon into newborn Naruto. And this resulted in Naruto being ostracized by the village. However, Naruto um, compensated for that by becoming a trickster, a troublemaker, a class clown, with the aspiration of becoming Hokage himself. Naruto eventually graduates from the Ninja Academy and becomes an apprentice ninja under the tutelage of a senior ninja named Kakashi, alongside two of his classmates, Sakura and Sasuke, who becomes his best friend, rival. Over the course of the series, Naruto goes on a number of adventures and tries to change the world. The final 15 volumes are continuing the Fourth Great Shinobi World War arc, in which a terrorist organization, or what's left of it, the Akatsuki, attempt to capture the last two free Jinchuriki, people like Naruto, in order to complete a plan that will basically send the entire human population into an endless dream. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the final 15 volumes, and I'm planning on reading them the last full work week of July. So that will be July 22nd to July 26th. So that's the plan. Now, before then, there are a private reading project I'll be embarking on, as well as a BookTube event. So, over the last few years, I have gravitated towards reading American literature in the month of July. And I try to read some fiction, some poetry, and some drama. This year, I had some trouble picking out the fiction because my July reading plans are rather immense. And so I didn't know if there was really. So I wanted a shorter book to read, but I kept coming back to a strong desire to reread The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. So that's what I will be reading for the fiction. For the poetry, I will be reading Selected Poems 1950 to 2012 by Adrienne Rich. And for the drama, I would like to get to Our Town by Thornton Wilder, which is one of my favorite plays. And I would also like to get to Cat on the Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams, which is, again, one of my favorite plays. So there are two BookTube events, one that is taking place throughout the year that I'm kind of going to be following along with to a certain extent. I actually think all three works of history that I'll get to at the end are actually outside of this current Historathon period, but oh well. But the main BookTube event that I'll be focusing on in July is Rocket Summer, which is a new BookTube event created by Michael K. Vaughan to celebrate vintage science fiction, which in this case is science fiction written and published from the 1930s through to 1970. I'm not entirely sure if the cutoff date is December 31st at 11:59 p.m. with 59 seconds left before midnight strikes on December 31st, 1969, or the same thing, just December 31st, 1970. I'm not entirely sure. But I did select 4 books that I would like to dip into, if not read. A caveat for Rocket Summer is that science fiction and fantasy was for a very long time my favorite genre of fiction. However, over the last 4 years, that has changed. I've discovered that my enjoyment of prose form science fiction and fantasy has diminished rapidly, to the point where it is almost cratered. And adding to that, I'm not the biggest fan of vintage or older science fiction. I find that vintage science fiction dates in its world building and in its scientific extrapolation, and I have a harder time suspending my disbelief with science fiction compared to fantasy. And there's not really enough to really keep me going in spite of that tendency. So I don't know how Rocket Summer is going to turn out. But I do have 4 books that I am planning on getting to. Whether or not they're successful or not remains to be seen. So first up is The Star Kings by Edmond Hamilton. I'm not entirely sure if this is a novel, like a novel expansion of the short story, or if this is like a bind-up novel or something. Because I have read this short story, The Star Kings. I think that's what it was. I now read something by Edmond Hamilton in the Big Book of Science Fiction, edited by the Vandermeers. But I'm not going to go and track it down right now. I'm also planning on getting to Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny, in which colonists assume the mantle or names of Hindu gods for younger colonists or later generations of colonists. I'm also hoping to get to The Beastmaster by Andre Norton, which is not the basis of the Sword and Sorcery movie. And I would also like to have another go at The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. LeGuin, which I have in this omnibus edition that includes Rokana's World, Planet of Exiles, City of Illusions, and the word for world is forest. Now, moving on to history, with Naruto basically taking up that last full work week of July, the final weekend and last 3 days of July, so the 27th through 31st, I'm going to dedicate to history of some kind, one of these 3 books. I'm hoping I will be able to get to the other 2 during the course of the month, but I don't know. My plans are already a bit packed. But I would like to finally get to Unworthy Republic, The Dispossession of Native Americans in the Road to Indian Territory by Claudio Saunt. I've had this book for several years now, and I have not gotten to it. I really need to. I would also like to get to A Brutal Reckoning, Andrew Jackson, The Creek Indians, and the Epic War for the American South by Peter Cozzens. Which I think this one might actually be in this period of Historathon. I think Unworthy Republic's a little bit later, but I think this one is more firmly in Historathon. Although, again, it could be wrong. And finally, I would like to get to Indivisible, Daniel Webster and the Birth of American Nationalism by Joel Richard Paul. So that's my plan. I'm not entirely sure about adding any more manga to the plan outside of Naruto. I've largely read every volume of manga that I have in my collection, and I don't have enough, so I don't know how that's going to work out. It depends how much manga I bring in July, and how exactly I get on with a number of the books that I've pretty much already dedicated the month to reading. And the same is true of poetry, which I have added quite a bit of poetry to my collection the last few weeks, and I'll hope to get to them soon as well. But anyway, that is, as of right now, my July reading plan. If there is any major disruption, I will report back with possibly a new plan sometime in the month. But hopefully that won't be necessary. In your booktube, I will be back later this evening with weekly reads. So until then, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.